All right, and our next comparison is, once again, not guys necessarily have the same body, but both of them were six men of the year, guys that came off the bench and said definitely had a role for their team. So we have two-time champ Vinny the Microwave Johnson versus the three-time six-man of the year Lou Williams. And I do believe, Ray, you are up to lead us off in this one.
Yeah, it feels like it's my turn. Again, I didn't do any research, and honestly, at this point, I wish I would have. I feel like, again, it's been a long time since I've seen Vinny Johnson play, but I feel like Lou Williams brings more athleticism to the table. And, Vinny, they called him the microwave, he heats things up real quick. But, I mean, if he didn't have that nickname back then, I feel like you could say that about Lou right now. I like Lou Williams a little better, and he would be on my team. That's the guy I picked, Lou Williams.
All right, we'll go Mark since I'm going to order that around my screen. So, Mark, what do you think of this comparable?
I'm going with Lou Williams. If you look at a lot of different people that are going to compare, there's a site I saw that had Vinny as the third best sixth man of all time and has Lou Williams at 10.
Wow.
But then I looked, it has Jamal Crawford somewhere in there. I think it was at 5th or 6th. And to me, Lou Williams has surpassed Jamal Crawford. I think he averaged 22.9 points per game this year, if I remember correctly. Lou is, before it stopped. He is instant offense. He can create his own shot. I think that you look at what Vinny did. He did it on one of the best teams in NBA history. That bad boy team is still one of the top, however you want to place them, but they're one of the best teams in NBA history. And
that sounds like a podcast.
They had to go through the Lakers, the historic Lakers, and the historic Celtics at the time when the only people getting rings were Magic and Bird and people with them. And that Pistons team beat both of them. And so I just, as good as he was, I think Lou's ability to handle the ball, extend the floor, and create more off the dribble, it exceeds what Vinny was able to do. So I'm going with Lou.
Steve.
To me, it's a question of what you're looking for here. You got comparable players, but really consistency, minutes off the bench, good field goal percentage. You're probably looking to Vinny Johnson, but if you're looking for that spark, that fire, it's going to be Lou Williams. Can create his own, create for others a little bit more than Vinny. Vinny's going to be a little more solid, a little more consistent, I think. But I'd probably take Lou Williams because he's got that ability, a little higher ceiling.
Yeah, I take Lou Williams also. I think, just from what all you guys said, I don't say anything more about that. So 4-0 though. All right, here comes a good one. Well, they're all been good, but Grandmama, all rookie of the year, two-time All-Star, All NBA, Larry Johnson versus Zion Williamson. Mark, what do you think on this matchup? We only have 19 games on Zion, so there's not much to show, but I really liked this comparison.
I think that the lack of Zion's games make it difficult. However, you still see what he was doing, and his passing ability is so underrated and exceeds what Larry Johnson was able to do. I love Larry Johnson. I think Larry Johnson's career was phenomenal, and again, at a time when everybody was, I think, overshadowed by the Bulls and everything, especially if you're in the East Coast. But I still have to, I know it's early, but I have to go with Zion. I think Zion's everything about him, and it's not its character, and I'm not questioning Larry's. I'm not questioning LJ's character. Zion is a proven high character, hardworking, great teammate. Again, at his size, LJ didn't receive ball screens as good. He could do things off the dribble, but they didn't run ball screens with him and Zoe. Am I correct?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Ever doing that. You see people coming to set, Zion not only sets them, he receives them, and he can create, because once he goes downhill, you have to get in his way. and his passing ability is so good. So I think that those things, and especially his passing ability, and again, it's tough because it's early, but I've never seen anybody like this guy. I just haven't. There's no comparison, and you hear people try, oh, he's like Barkley, but this, and why? Because he's a short power forward or whatever. I don't know, but there's no comparison. To me, it's more like Neek, but in a frame like LeBron. It's insane. So I'm going to go with Zion. I would gamble on this one without the body work, that I expect him to have yet.
Yeah, I'm going Zion too. I just think I watched their first preseason game, and the guy penetrated, and that Zion was on the backside, and I've never seen the offense where they penetrate and look for that backside cutter like curling around him for a dunk. I mean, it's just the way he is. He's got good hands, and everything about him. It's just I hope he stays healthy for us to be able to see what he can do. But yeah, if I had right now, I would go Zion though. LJ was pretty damn good, and like I said, I really liked him, and I love that NLV team that he was on. But
Yes.
Zion's pretty fun. He's going to be, like I said, if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of those that people are going to. It's must see TV when he's on TV or when he's near you. Playing the team that's close to you. Steve.
I think Larry Johnson, I think three things. Number one, UNLV, best college team ever that year, that 2 years. Space Jam, of course, he was tough in Space Jam. Can't argue that. And then I think he was on that Knicks team when they were the 8th seed, and he took them pretty deep, and he pulled out the old L.
Yeah,
I love that. But as you guys have said, there's no comparison for Zion. He's a freak of nature. I'd love to see him on a good team, like when he doesn't have to be the guy. I think he'd be pretty awesome on a good team when he, because right now, obviously, he doesn't have the outside game. We'll see how he does when teams are focusing on him, throwing double teams at him, because I don't think they did that really early yet in his career. Once they get a little more tape on him. Yeah, to guard him one-on-one in transition on the offensive boards is a nightmare. So I'd go with Zion on this one.
I'll lean on you guys for this one. It's so hard with the small sample size. You can see that Zion's ceiling is really, really high. But Larry proved it. Larry Johnson played for a long time and did a lot of good things. So, I mean, it's not easy for me, and maybe it wasn't easy for you guys. Like I said, I'll go Zion. Peer pressure, but I would like to see more. That's all. I'd like to see 3 years of him doing the same thing, which he's certainly capable of. I'm not saying he's not. It's not one of those things where I'm like, oh, let's see what you can do. I know he's capable. I'd like to see a little more before I put a stone cold hard, whatever they call that stamp on this. Stone cold lead pipe lock. That's what they call it at ESPN, right?
That's right. Yep, right.
But no, I'll go Zion. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I would like to see a couple more years of Zion.
I just gotta say, so if you're walking down the street and you see this beautiful woman, and you're gonna have to see her a few more times to decide if she's beautiful or not.
I'm not saying he's not beautiful. I'm not saying he's not talented. I said his ceiling is super duper high.
I'm just messing. Come on now. I tell you what, just to let you guys know, we're podcasting with my buddies from Savannah. We're going to talk NFL quarterbacks, and Ray, get ready because it's going to be ruthless. Those guys,
Sound like Donkey Kong.
well, they'll be all over each other, and especially me. But but just giving you a hard time. Just giving you a hard time. But anyway, all right. So peer pressure. Ray doesn't do peer pressure too much. I mean, he stands alone. That's what he does.
Did way too much of it in high school.
All right, the next one. We have an rookie of the year, 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. Chris Webber versus an all-rookie, a 2-time All-NBA, and a 3-time All-Star, Joel Embiid. And Steve, did you start the last one? So it's Ray's turn, or did I do that one? I forget. I'm sorry. Who led that one? Steve, then. I think I don't know. Yep, Steve, you lead.
All right, sounds good. I got to go with Chris Webber on this one. I mean, Joel Embiid is a tough player, but again, I just go back to I just and this is going to sound funny because I like guys that you can trust. And of course, your first thought is Chris Webber calling the timeout in the national championship game, but I don't know. I like Chris Webber. I think he had a great career. He wanted, he does a great job in the booth. For TNT, and all around, I just always liked Chris Webber. He had a lot to prove. He didn't let anybody, steer his career. He did it for himself. Joel Embiid, it seems like he's all over the place. Sometimes he's playing basketball, sometimes he's doing other stuff. So I'm going to go with Chris Webber on this one.
Raven, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of like the Joe Johnson, Mitch Richmond thing for me. Chris Webber, I feel like he's, someone that you build around. He was, a freak athlete really for his size. And again, I think like I did with Reggie Miller, I think he could sort of translate into modern basketball. He could adapt. Joel Embiid, he feels sort of like a dinosaur to me. I don't think you build around him. I think he's a secondary type of person, a person that you may have on your team, but you don't build around him. I just think Chris Webber. I go Chris Webber on this one.
Mark?
Chris Webber. There's not too much more to say. I think that, Joel Embiid has the potential to be the best, most dominant center that we could watch at this era, at this time. And because it lacks in our game, in the NBA game these days. But he is so good. His back to the basket game is phenomenal. But he settles for a lot of face-up jump shots, and I don't think his decision-making and feel for the flow of the game with teammates is good. I think Chris had that. Chris didn't settle for outside in more mid-range until later in his career when he didn't have the same explosiveness, and that's not settling. That's evolving as a basketball player. I can't dunk on 3 people anymore. I got to be better at this, and he did it. Chris Webber was a great passer. I think he was tougher. The only thing I disagree with Steve on is I don't like him in the booth. I just think he points out awful points that are just so basic that thank you, Chris. Kyrie spends a lot of time working on his ball handling. He says dumb stuff like that. Yeah, of course he does. So outside of that, I love Chris as a player. The timeout was definitely a mistake, but I could look at times where I probably should have taken a timeout and didn't as a coach, and I know I did. So I always evaluate that and learn, and I think Chris grew from that. And Chris Webber was a phenomenal basketball player.
I wanted to go with Embiid. But same thing, a lot of people, you guys said, Weber's was too good. I'd like to see Embiid, get better. And, once again, made the toughness, the effort, I think at times, but once again, he's been hurt quite a bit. He's texting on the bench or eating whatever he was doing there. But one thing with Embiid, he does have that mentality. It just hasn't shown it enough that he could do it on the court, because he's going to put up crazy numbers. I mean, he already puts up crazy numbers. But yeah, Chris Webber, he's got to show more to beat a really good Chris Webber. All right. So next one, another fun one for me. We've got a 7-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. I can't read my writing. A 2-time scoring leader. And it is Tracy McGrady versus a 3 or 2-time All-Star in Jason Tatum. So this is interesting because if you do your research, McGrady's talked about this. People have talked to him about Tatum being similar to him, and one of the things he said is he doesn't have the effort needed to be up in talking like Ricky, my level. So let's go, Ray. You can start off with McGrady and Tatum, or would you like to Mark to start?
I don't care.
Oh, you just seem like you're upset. I don't want to hurt your feelings or anything.
It's tough. Too late. Just kidding.
Okay. All right.
Again, I mean, it's for me, Jason Tatum, a little bit too small of a sample size versus Tracy McGrady. You know, you get a lot of that. The old school people, you know, when there's a comparison drawn, they're like, "Oh no, I'm not. He's not like me." You know, there's whatever. So I mean, a little bit of sour grapes there, but he may have a valid point. You know, Tracy McGrady did it for longer. Didn't you say a couple times scoring leader, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, he could fill it up. And I feel, am I right? Tracy McGrady battled some injuries as well. I feel like he had to sort of reinvent himself towards the end of his career a little bit. So that always gets bonus points for me also. You know, kind of, again, like the Zion Williamson thing where I may have been a little bit of a Larry Johnson lean, but you guys talked me into Zion. Here I'm going Tracy McGrady. I'm always going to be like an old school lean. Maybe 3-4 years from now, maybe I'd change my mind. But right now I'm going Tracy McGrady.
All right. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I love Jason Tatum. His senior year at Duke, I reached a point where I was convinced he was the best player in the country and should have been the #1 pick. And I think has that much potential, and I think you're seeing it from him. So it's nothing against what he's not doing, because I think he's starting off his career great. But Tracy McGrady was a different animal, and I think that you take away his injuries, because his career was stopped pretty quickly because of it. And what he was able to do scoring wise in big moments as well. If you're not convinced, watch that last, what was it, minute 50 or
seconds,
30 some seconds. Yeah. Again, and that was that a playoff game? I feel like that was a playoff game, but whatever it was, that scoring, that topped what Reggie did in those, 8 seconds, because it was unbelievable the way he got those shots. And it's just that, again, what we can as coaches teach is that just absolute killer mentality that when it's on the line, you're going to find a way to get it done. And Tracy did it over and over throughout his career. And to me, if it wasn't for the injuries, is potentially one of those easily a top 10 ever, and might have crept his way into that top 5 category because of what he was able to do with his length, athleticism, shot, passing. He did everything. So I got to go with Tracy on this.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tracy McGrady also. Tatum's one of my favorite players right now in the NBA, and, sample size. But Tracy McGrady, yeah. I mean, talking about that mentality, he gets in fights he got in a fight with someone in a what are they called?
Strip joint?
No, basketball game for fun.
pickup game.
Pickup game?
No, it was a
Charity
charity
game.
Yeah, he got in a fight with someone at a charity event. It's because they were talking smack to him. But yeah, Tracy McGrady, it just, when I played any type of 2K, or Madden, no injuries. I don't want injuries. I want, because once again, we've already talked about Penny last week. We've talked about 2 or 3 people there, McGrady. I mean, these guys, if they're not hurt, what would be different? And I still think, Michael Jordan's going to be the greatest all time, but Tracy McGrady was a freak. He was an absolute freak. He was strong. He was lengthy, and he had it also. So, it's a tough matchup for Tatum. But yeah, so I go McGrady. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great one because Tatum is trending towards McGrady, but he's got a long ways to go.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got a long ways to go, but they are very similar players. If you look at them each 3 years into their career, type of players they are, their movements, the way they shoot, very similar players. So love Tatum. I don't think, even if you say he gets to his ceiling, that's still about the same as McGrady, and that's if he gets to his ceiling. So you got to go with McGrady on this one.
Yeah, yep.
I like how you were going after a charity event, and we got from Ray's strip club.
Yeah, I know it.
But we worked towards the right direction.
Yes.
That was fun.
Words and I don't get along always. So Ray has finished many of my sentences here in the 80-some podcast that we've done. All right. Couple big men now. We've got an 8-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA or All-NBA, 6-time All-Defensive, 4-time player or Defensive Player of the Year, led rebounding 2 years and blocks 3 years. Dikembe Mutombo versus a 1-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defensive. He was player, 3-time All-Defensive Team, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, led blocks 1 year. Rudy Gobert. Did I say it right? Gobert, whatever.
Gobert. Yeah.
Gobert. Thank you.
Gobert.
Yes, I don't know French,
French.
very well. Yes, I don't know French at all. So, Mark, start this one off.
I'm going with Dikembe, and it's not an ode to, I never stay loyal to old school. I just see it how I see it. I think Dikembe is what on the defensive end is what people like to say Bill Russell was. Because, again, not that Bill Russell wasn't in his era, because he was, but Dikembe at 7'1", wasn't he 7'1", I mean, he was a legit 7-footer.
Yeah.
And his toughness in defensive, his ability to make a team better in defense, affect a team and improve a team just on the defensive end and rebounding alone is as high of an impact on those two things as I've seen anybody besides probably Rodman. You look at that 70. Yeah, AI could shoot it every time and dribble 100 times. It doesn't matter. He was going to do his job, play his role, and nobody had an easy time getting to the rim, scoring in the paint when he was around. If there was a rebound team.
Sorry, having internet instability in this beautiful sunshiny day.